Good evening. It is a pleasure to welcome you to the Poetry Foundation. Thank you, Steve Young, for your hospitality, and thank you, Chelsea, for all of your organizational efforts. It's been a really wonderful exercise in shoehorning all this great stuff into this beautiful space. Tonight's program from Fulcrum Point New Music Project really brings the fulcrum of music and poetry together, but also brings generations of poets and music and styles. You're going to go on a journey from an incredible local hipster poet, because I've actually shifted the program. In your program, you see some poems by Hilda Morley. And I've decided to substitute some Kevin Coval poetry because you just can't get enough of that funky stuff, as the song goes, back in the day. So, but Hilda Morley was the wife of Stefan Volpe, who was the composer of the first piece. And Stefan Volpe was quite an unusual character in that he was born in Germany at the beginning of the century, and then escaped Nazi Germany. And just as the things were getting a little hot before the war, he was a student and a teacher at the Bauhaus. In fact, he used to play cocktail piano for their soirees at night. If you can imagine, if Schoenberg would be playing cocktail music, it was kind of on that line of things. But he also worked close with Brecht. And Kurt Weill. He was a really interesting guy. He worked in the labor movement in Palestine. He came to the United States and taught at the Black Mountain College, where he met Hilda Morley, and they lived a life of art and kind of simpatico. It was really nice. So her poems are in there, and they're kind of paired with the two movements. One is very solemn. The first movement of the quartet is a kind of ceremonial march, a cortege in a certain way, in a very odd cubist fashion. And then the second movement evokes more of the jazz. It's kind of this incredibly up-tempo, driving motion of a jigsaw puzzle of sound and pitch and all kinds of really, really cool licks for all of us to kind of put together. So it's a lot of fun. I hope you fasten your seatbelt and take that ride. So I would love to welcome to the stage Kevin Coval.
Thank you to Steve and Fulcrum and the Poetry Foundation, and for y'all being here. Appreciate it. I'm going to be reading, the poems that I'm reading are unpublished, but they're in a new collection about Chicago and kind of exploring how we got to this point in this era of gentrification. My family's been here a long time, so this is a brief history of Wicker Park, Ukrainian village, 1906 to 1996. A safe house. At 1750 West Haddon, a home made for George Marcus Coval, fleeing Ukrainians, trying to kill his family for being something Ukrainians didn't fully recognize as themselves. They came, made a village, an alley to play in, a street to wander about, a growing mass of new corners, comers who could love just off the boat, or Ave, or train, just out the loop, just off the bus stop, a job to pay for food, a drink in a saloon. Later, the streets Algren slunk drunk on, the men scattered, scarred, beautiful, broken, he thought, women too, golden-armed dropouts, fathers, barmaids, prostitutes, Irish, Russian, then Puerto Rican, black even. In the 80s, no white person with money wanted anything urban, but the outfitters came. Raided the block, the mob of city cops, red line ward wand waivers, tiffs, Democratic Party tiffs, tips, investments, investors, bare bricked a cafe, Hillary's urban eatery, outposts, past lines, coffee shops, galleries, shops, shop, at first a neo-bohemia, for the sons and daughters of farm workers, suburbanites with failed American dreams, who wanted freedom and heroin, cheap rent and space to think, and not off in some basement, lights on or off in some basement, excitement, makeshift, galleries, sun ra, space is, the place is a house, party turned electro, funk turned red dog with white noses and white powder, white power. The powers be outside, a whole country waging war on drugs, on thugs, on brown and black boys and bodies, a war outside and in here, a war America was destined to win, war waged in these division streets, war in this ward, war in this village and park, a war in this part of town, a war for the future of Chicago, the country, a war that will determine how to save America, how to destroy America, how to survive in America, how to divide in Chicago, America.